There was a heavy police presence, a lot of security guards, but no major or significant issues at this meeting, even though tempers and emotions certainly flared. Tense moments and heated exchanges at Dearborn School Board meeting Thursday night as parents, residents, and community stakeholders sounded off on LGBTQ books in the district's library.
The majority of parents are not here to attack your right to exist in a free society. Criticism of age-inappropriate content is not criticism of the LGBT community.
This was actually round 2 for the board, which suspended Monday's meeting over safety concerns. The massive turnout in the smaller space broke the fire code. Capacity was limited to about 600 people inside the Stout Middle School auditorium. Those who could not get in filled overflow spaces. Almost everyone wanted to weigh in on the issue at hand.
Banning LGBT books isn't going to stop anyone from being gay. It will just make them miserable and alienate them. And the consequences might be fatal.
Dearborn School.
I believe that it's a rather disingenuous to try to construe saying I don't want our kids to be exposed to certain materials as the same thing as we are not in support of LGBT community. I believe there's a difference between saying I have a problem with the overly sexualization of children and saying I do not like XYZ because if they do XYZ. That's a completely different scenario. And when you try to link those two things together, you're ignoring some of the things that would hit anybody pretty forcefully. When you hear about some of these books in these schools, you're choosing to ignore those things. You're choosing to pretend it's not an issue when anybody who has any moral code of, that doesn't sound right. At what age are they reading this? There's a problem if you can ignore that and go forward. I'm coming across this video because I feel like in a community that is mostly religious, of the Muslim faith, it's one thing to say, yeah, we're going to do what we want to do. And it's another thing to go against what the parents and what the community wants. Because at the end of the day, it's about the community. It's not about what the new agenda is. It's about what the community wants. And I believe at the end of the day, outside of the community, even smaller than that, it's what parents want for their kids. They're not saying, oh, teach math this way. They're saying, no, that lesson, that's for me to teach, not for you. And the fact that you feel comfortable enough to teach a lesson like this or try to expose my kids to materials sexual in nature, what does that say about you? What does it say about you? It doesn't say anything good.
Reviewing 6 library books, including This Book is Gay and All Boys Are Not Blue, after a parent complained about them, saying they were sexually explicit and inappropriate for kids.
A normal, psychologically sound and stable mind would come to a conclusion that that specific material is nothing but sexually explicit.
Those who disagree say this uproar is not about books at all.
So let's stop pretending this is about protecting children from books. We all know this is about erasing our LGBTQ students and staff. It was literally written on signs people brought to the meeting on Monday.
The pushback against the LGBTQ books has made unlikely bedfellows out of Muslims and some political conservatives. GOP candidates Christina Caramo and Matt DePerno and Republican.
Here's my point, though. Even if you believe that they don't want their kids exposed to certain materials because of their own beliefs, why is that your place to say otherwise? I'm just going to be honest. And let me give you an example. What if there's a school that decided that they find it necessary to start teaching kids the Bible? I mean, teaching it as if you should be following this and this is a religion at this point. Could you imagine the uproar about that? At the end of the day, this comes down to a matter of your beliefs and your own morals and your own values. And if you're trying to tell these individuals and these parents that are saying, not to my child, not in our schools, not in our communities, that no, we have a right to say, screw your morals, your values, and we're going to impart to your child what we find fit, what we choose is best. Isn't that the same thing as trying to shove religion down someone's throat? That might be a little bit, controversial, but I believe it's the exact same thing, because at the end of the day, not everybody shares the same views. You can't force love. You can't force understanding. And when you try to force things like that, what you usually end up doing is harming the case that you're trying to make. You repulse people by doing things like that. You don't bring people together.
And Republican lawmaker Jim Runstad and Matt Maddock were front and center at Thursday's meeting.
Our community, like many others across the country, is being intentionally divided by political players whose agenda revolves around anti-public school teachers, not what is best for students.
This issue comes up in Dearborn.
Why would you want to be pro-public school when the public school aren't pro-parents? Some of these things, it just jumps out at me, and I just shake my head, because it's like, why won't you let us do what we want to do with your kids? Why are you fighting us so much? You're anti-school. You're anti-parents. You're anti-parental rights. That's why. Dude, it's just, I don't like the whole victim game playing stuff. And when you look at parents, and I'm a parent myself, I could never imagine someone telling me that I don't have a right to say, that, don't talk to my child about that. Especially when it's about sex. It makes no sense to me. I don't consider myself to be a bigot. I consider myself to be pretty open and saying that I'll stay in my lane, you stay in yours. But at the end of the day, when you find yourself in a position where you're fighting to talk to kids about sex, and not just reproductive habits and stuff. No, you're going into details with some of these books that are, again, you've probably seen the clips already, and I'll probably try to include some of them in this video, of parents reading the books, some excerpts from the books, and it's just like, yeah, keep that down. This is public, and this will be on the internet, and you can't talk like that. So why is this in our schools? Clean that up.
I hesitate to read it. I don't feel comfortable reading it to adults. 13-year-olds can check this book out. And you guys have bought it for them and provided it for them. And it needs to be corrected ASAP. Are you going to eat her? Yeah, Earl, I'm going to eat her. Do you even know how to eat? No, not really. Papa Gaines never sat you down and said, son, one day you're going to have to eat. No, but he taught me how to eat a. Yep, I would teach you some technique, but it's a little complicated. Son, I don't have time for that. I got 20 over here I need to eat. Is that right? I'm on a deadline. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. There are 79 in this book. 79. 51 shits, 11 dicks, 15 and 9 goddams, and the list goes on. And you guys need to fix it.
Thank you.
It's the same issue we're seeing in Grand Rapids. We're seeing it in Kalamazoo. We're seeing it in Northern Michigan. We're seeing it everywhere where school boards think that they can ignore the rights of the parents in terms of how their children are educated.
Now, guys, the books in question are off the shelves as the district reviews them. It is also revamping its library book review process and is removing volumes that, quote, students are no longer using, that are out of date, or that are not age appropriate for that.
That sounds like admission of guilt to me. If you're removing volumes that are not age appropriate for children, why were they there in the first place? And every person who is advocating and saying, "Oh, this isn't about, this isn't about books. It's not. It's about being anti-LGBT." No, stop. Because at the end of the day, you can't stop LGBTQ by destroying books, like he just said. That's not. If that's your goal, that's not going to do it. And like I said, on the other hand of that, if your goal is to stop something and you come up to it with force, that just gives the other side a weapon to say, look at these people coming to attack me. So it makes no sense regardless. All parents are asking for is the right to say, not with my child. Guys, that's all I got. Thought it was something interesting to bring into you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.